Good morning, everybody. This is Omar Serrata with the Tilted Lawyer podcast. This is your Wednesday morning edition. And in lieu of doing our normal true crime peruse regarding issues of the day, I felt like since we're going to be debuting our members only content, whereby I basically just do a bag and answer your questions for all of our paid members. They send me questions, I answer them. It could be legal questions that involve your specific situation. It could be stuff just out there. I got four interesting hypotheticals for you guys, not hypotheticals, just questions that you guys have. The first one is asking about a shady lawyer and something that he did during divorce. He wanted my opinion on. Another one asks, how would you, from a lawyer's perspective, prosecute a case of what amounts to imperfect self-defense? And in this particular case, he sent me a video of a guy that was attempting to be robbed by two individuals. In the course of their tussle, their interaction, he shot one, and as he was walking away, and this other guy was helpless on the ground, he files fires one more fateful shot into the dome of this young man, and then that was that. Um, Somebody wants to know whether or not they got to go to a top law school in order to be a successful attorney, whether or not it pays off. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then finally, I'm going to get to whether or not the $30,000 Delta Airlines compensation package was a no strings attached kind of deal, or if it meant, something else. We're going to get into all of that coming up next. So you're going to want to stick around. It's going to be a good one.
Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrata with the Tilted Lawyer podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started.
Good morning, folks. I'm actually recording this on a Tuesday evening. It is about 10:30, but this episode is going to be dropping tomorrow morning at around 9 a.m. after Dominic works his magic. We're going to dive into my mailbag. People have questions that they want answered, and I'm here to provide some answers. And this first question I have is regarding a shady lawyer, and they say the following. So I retained a divorce lawyer 3 days ago, and things have taken a downward spiral. I asked for a non-contested divorce. He filed it as contested. I paid $2,000 on my credit card and $1,000 in cash. I've asked him 4 times for the cash receipt, and they keep saying I already have it and won't email it to me. I also asked why we haven't signed a client attorney contract, and the receptionist said, Mr. Dassey, redacted, typically does verbal only contracts. Wow. That's bullshit. As you can imagine, most lawyers don't do in verbal contracts. Matter of fact, in California specifically, there's a rule. You don't need a written retainer agreement for any service that you perform under $1,000. But you paid him $3,000. So generally that requires a attorney client retainer agreement that would outline the services that are going to be rendered for the amount of money that you're going to be paying, whether or not it's an hourly fee retainer, and if so, where that money goes before it's earned. And there would be, if you were going to do a flat fee retainer, the amount that you're paying for the specific amount, and then admonitions that if the attorney fails to earn the money, then it would be due back to you and all this other kind of stuff. So we're starting off bad. I agree. This sounds really effing shady, Mr. Dassey, and it's redacted. His full name is not that. I don't know who this guy is. Then it continues. He did already file the court paperwork and served my wife. Well, at least he did that. We've been assigned a judge and a court date, but I'm concerned that things are just going to get worse, and he's going to ask for more money. In a few weeks, our agreement was for a total of $3,000. So tomorrow morning, I plan on walking inside and asking for the cash receipt, then an itemized bill so I know how much of my retainer is left. Then I'm going to withdraw counsel. Good idea. Any tips? Is it a good idea? Yeah, well, I'm a little suspicious right off the bat that you were not given a attorney-client retainer agreement that would have told you exactly how all that's supposed to work. And in addition to that, not only you're supposed to get a receipt, you're supposed to be given a ledger of all of the activities upon demand that were done on your case. So if he drew a paperwork that goes on, how much time did it take him to do? What's his normal hourly rate? Blah blah blah. If he did legal research, if he talked to you on the phone, if he sent you an email, if you went down to the courthouse to file the paperwork, all of those things should be recorded on a ledger that you should have access to all the time. I actually have client software. So when you sign up for my firm, not only do you get a full-on paper contract outlining the attorney-client relationship, but there will be a clause in there that talks about what are my duties, what are your duties. My duty is to represent you as the attorney to the best of my ability. Your duty as my client is to always be truthful with me and keep me up to date on any new developments, not keep me in the dark, all that kind of stuff. And then we outline the specific services. So you wanted to hire this guy for a non contested divorce. Okay, but there's always the chance that it's going to become contested in the future. So, for example, you file for divorce. What if she just decides that, you know what? I don't want to terminate alimony. I think I'm going to fight. I think I want to get a little bit of spousal support. And you disagree. Well, guess what? Now it's contested. And it happens just that quick. I'm assuming you guys don't have minor children, which, most uncontested divorces don't involve children. Maybe you don't have many assets, so maybe that's not going to be an issue. But any small little stupid thing that somebody wants to contest, now it becomes a contested divorce. And so, yeah, it's a great idea that you want to get this uncontested divorce. The problem is the other side has to cooperate either by not responding at all and you defaulting them out and proceeding in default, or specifically checking the box that this is a non contested or uncontested divorce, and attached to it a judgment agreement that you guys have already bargained for, preferably after sitting in a lawyer's office for several hours, hammering out the finer details of what that would entail. Signed by you, signed by your attorney, signed by her attorney, or somebody that gave her legal advice. Maybe it's notarized for extra support, whatever the rules of your local counties are. And you submit that, and sure, that'll work. Um, but just because you want an uncontested divorce and just because you think it's going to be uncontested doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way for very long. So, what I would normally do in that scenario is client agrees to hire attorney, and attorney will provide the following services. Attorney will file on client's behalf a petition for dissolution that will assert that this divorce is to be uncontested. However, in the event that the divorce proceedings become contested at any point, then a new retainer agreement will be required to update the services of this contract. Any money paid into this retainer agreement will roll over into the new retainer agreement, and there will be a new retainer amount, blah, blah, blah. We'd work all of that out, and it would be in writing so there's no confusion. All of those things are things that are good to know. There are things that I know that's how it normally works. It's not anything that you would know about how it normally works because I do this for a living and you don't. It's just how it is. And so, for your peace of mind, I would provide that in a written agreement. I would have a copy. I would have an electronic copy in your client portal that you could log in and look at whenever, and you'd have a physical copy and wet signatures and the whole thing. When somebody pays a retainer at my law firm, not only do they get a receipt, they get a electronic receipt that gets sent to them through email, and a physical copy if they really want one. And honestly, if somebody asked me for a physical copy like 5 years later, I could just print it out. It's right there. All of our records are electronic, and that's important because clients are owed by their attorneys a fiduciary duty to keep things on the up and up. And when you start giving attorneys $3,000 and they can't really account for it or say or explain to anybody what exactly they did to earn that $3,000, it's problematic because what if you were to file a bar complaint against this attorney? You know what they would ask him? They would ask him, I want a list of everything you've done for this client to earn this $3,000. I want a list of every written agreement. And if one doesn't exist, I want to know why. Um, they would grill him and make him show him all of those things. So when you have an attorney that is doing things, look, I do that just as a protective measure, not only for my client but for my firm. In the off chance that somebody wants to a client come back and say that I somehow didn't do anything to earn money that was earned, I could go to any bar and say, look, here is a ledger of 68 activities that were entered and that represent work that was done on his case for a specific reason, for exact lengths of time and all that kind of stuff. If it's a flat fee, all of my flat fee retainers have the proper admonitions that kind of outline that you are authorizing or accepting that this is a flat fee. You're not going to be billed as you would normally a trust. However, if the work that you are signing up for is no longer possible to perform, then you will get a prorated whatever. There's all these kinds of different admonitions that are written into it, and those go into our retainer agreements. So, are you asking me, is it a good idea to withdraw from counsel? I would really press them about where we're going with this. I would ask them the question about what happens if this becomes a contested divorce because she files a response. Just by virtue of her filing a response makes it a contested divorce. And your attorney already fucked it up because he checked the box that said a contested divorce. That's not what you hired him for. That might have just been a typo on their end, probably made by his paralegal, but it's a mistake nonetheless. So if you ask my professional opinion about what I think about this attorney, he's a fucking clown. Get somebody else. Get somebody else. Get your money back and get somebody else. You hired him 3 days ago. Get your money back. You're gonna have to pay him for him drawing up the dissolution petition. That should take at best a couple of hours, especially if there's not really any assets, if there was no declarations required. The hardest part about drawing up divorce petitions is the financial disclosures. That usually takes the longest. So maybe a couple of hours. I don't know what this guy bills an hour, 300, 400, $500 an hour, but he should be able to account for the work that he did, tell you how long it took him to do it, and he should get a prorated refund. And I would happily go find a better attorney that knows what they're doing and has all those ducks in a row. It's a really good sign that your attorney is on the up and up if he has all of those basic things that I told you um, on the ready. He already has the written agreements. The everything is automated. Your receipts are automated. Your communications are automated. You have a way to contact him, not just through email that he's never going to check, but maybe a couple times a week. It would be a real good thing to have your attorney's contact number in your back pocket with the ability to send him a text message because you're going to have questions and you don't always want to be stuck talking to a paralegal the whole time. And so it's a good thing to have if you could just send a text message right to your attorney. All of these things. So yeah, shady lawyer, a good idea to go get somebody else. I wouldn't trust this guy. He's at best sloppy and lazy. So there's that. What else do we got? Hey, Cynthia Miller, thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. I appreciate you greatly. Um, Let me get into my next mail bag. From a lawyer's perspective, how would you defend or prosecute this? They sent me a link. It is to Reddit. They say the last shot looks pretty bad to me, but the second guy's hand were mostly out of frame, but seems to be possibly holding a weapon in some frames. All right. I'm going to click on this link. And right off the bat, Reddit is telling me that there is some not safe for work content. So I'm not going to share this on my screen until I know what I'm looking at. Okay, this appears to be like a TikTok or something. Oh yeah, it shows people getting shot. I definitely cannot show this on YouTube, so I'm not gonna. But I'm gonna describe what happens. Okay, so the video starts off. There's a guy in a blue shirt. He's being approached by another guy that has his hands in his pockets. Um, they're having words. There's two men. They grab at his shoes. They've pulled him onto his feet, and the one guy pulls him onto his feet. He's now appears to be kicking or grabbing or trying to take something from the guy while the other guy looks on. That's 2-on-1 at this point. They're tussling. They're tussling. There's a gun It looks like he might have been shot. Could I play the sound at least? Here, let's see if I can play the sound. What did I just was that a gunshot? All right, it sounds like a gunshot went off, and there's clearly a gun in this guy's hand. And this guy is laying there like he got shot. I don't see any blood or anything. There's another guy sitting there laying on the floor. It's hard to tell what just happened. He's writhing in pain. And the other guy has the gun in his hand. He's no longer in any danger. He could literally walk away. Grab something off the floor. He appeared to just fire another shot directly into that guy, striking him. You know what? Just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna play this for you guys, or I'm gonna try to share this with you guys. Why not? Why not? What was it? All right, let's watch it again. You guys tell me what you think. This is the video as it's being played. You can't really see anything, so I'm gonna play it. All right, pulls him down. Special, take a shot. Two shots. Yeah, right there. That is homicide. If that guy passes away, that's homicide. I don't know what happened to those young men, but if they passed away as a result of those injuries, he's going to be prosecuted as a murderer. There's no doubt about that. There's something in law that says, improper perfect defense. I know there's a lot of stand your ground laws that are in existence in various states, but I'll tell you what, those are usually predicated on this idea that there is an actual threat that you are defending against where force may be required to ensure your safety. To the extent that that's not the case, like for example, you saw in that video where he was on the ground, he was tussling. Okay, if a gun goes off or he's defending himself, fine, that's one thing. But at some point, he gets up and he starts walking around. And then, as the guy is clearly laying there, it looks like he puts another bullet right into him. That's imperfect self-defense. He's no longer defending against a threat. That's going to be prosecuted as a murder, homicide, second degree, maybe second degree. Um, yeah, that guy's in a lot of trouble. So that's that. What else do I have? Okay, this other person asks the question. My goal, folks, is to keep this show 30 minutes or less. And so if I'm speeding through these, I apologize. I have a tendency to be long-winded, so I'm doing my best. This guy has a question. He says, so I'm a freshman in college. I'm thinking about a career in law. I was told by my advisor, I speak to a pre-law advisor tomorrow, that law school will only pay off financially and be a satisfying career if I go to a top law school. How true is this? It's true if you're simple-minded, a simpleton over there, and could not conjure a scenario where you have the ability to run your own law firm, own your own business. And then if that's the fact, sky's the limit. If you're going to run your own law firm, all that's required is a law degree and passing the bar, a law license. George Hardane asked me, was it a jewelry store or somewhere like that? Oh, hello. Happened upon chat. Yes, you did. It looked like a jewelry store. I don't know what kind of store that was, but there was definitely glass displays. Um, Yeah, rewind it. See what you think. It might have been a jewelry store. I have no idea what kind of store that was. To answer this guy's question, do I have to go to a top law school for it to pay off financially? Well, I can tell you this, that if you were to go to a top 14, and that's kind of the sweet spot, a top 14. Top 14 would be like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, those kinds of school. Top 14 law schools. Where are nowadays the top 14 law schools? See if I can get a list. According to the U.S. News and World Report, they say, "Oh, I don't want to disable my ad blocker." Okay, so Stanford is number one nowadays, huh? How about that? And then Yale, University of Chicago has risen to number three. What happened to Harvard? Duke University is four. Harvard is all the way down to five. Wow. University of Penn has always been up there. They are currently number six. Number seven is University of Virginia. Um, oh, wait a minute. I'm not sure what this means, but it says Stanford and Yale are both number one. So they're tied for number one. University of Chicago is number three. Duke is four. Harvard is also four, tied with Duke. University of Penn is also tied for four. University of Virginia is also tied for four. What are we doing? So you have four schools all tied for fourth place on the top 14 list. Columbia is just behind at number eight. New York University is number nine. By that, I mean NYU. Um, Northwestern University is number nine. University of Michigan is tied for ninth. UC Berkeley is 12th. UCLA is 13. Good on them. When I was going to law school, they were like in the 20s somewhere. Cornell is number 14. Georgetown is number 14. Minnesota is number 16. Texas is number 16. Look, the reality is if you get into people, they clamor to get into these top 14 law schools. Would it be beneficial to come from a top 14 law school? What that does is it gives you an easier path to working for somebody and getting paid a lot of money. Like you'll get hired and you'll probably have a starting salary north of 200,000 a year. And congratulations, you're going to come attached to that with like $300,000 in a student loan debt. So there's that, unless you got a scholarship, but you're talking about the top 1% or the top 10% of the top 1% of law school candidates. Good luck getting a scholarship to those schools. So the majority of people that graduate from these top 14 law schools, realistically, I don't know how much tuition is. They say, for example, at University of Michigan, tuition and fees runs them $70,000 a year. You're going to spend 3 years in school. That's a $210,000 out the gate, plus your living expenses. You're going to be $300,000 in debt by the time you graduate after 3 years of law school. Now, any of those law school candidates for these top 14 schools could avoid the student debt by simply taking a full ride scholarship to say like a top 50 school or like a top 100 school or even a top 100, a third tier law school. You're going to get the same law degree. You're just not going to have to pay for tuition because you're going to have a scholarship. I went to a fourth tier law school and because they offered me basically a full ride scholarship because I scored really high on my LSAT. And I looked at that and it's like, okay, I'm going to pay tuition over here, but here I could go for free. I take the same bar. I'm going to pass the same bar. I'm going to get the same law license. Fuck it. And then I went to that school and you know what? Hey, it worked out. So my starting salary, my first job out of law school, it was actually like an internship. I was getting paid like 15 an hour. Like 15 an hour. Yeah, it was like 11 years ago. And it was like a very temporary, like 3-week trial period or something like that. And then it got bumped up to 60,000 annual salary. And then it kept on going up and up. And before I ended up starting my own law firm, my salary is basically like 120,000 a year or something like that. But I was limited. And if you're going to be an associate working for somebody, you're always going to be limited in income. You're going to get paid what people want to pay you. And so I started my own firm, and I make way more money than that now. And I came from a fourth tier law school. I didn't need any of these other more prestigious degrees. Does it look cool on a resume? Sure, 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 it does. But you practice under the same laws, you learn the same laws, you pass the same state bar. You're still a licensed attorney, and I got to tell you, um, I have no, I have noticed no discernible difference in people that came from these higher ranked schools to other attorneys that came from lower rated schools. Honestly, I feel like the people that came from lower rated schools have better character. They're harder workers. They know the law better. There's just different. There's different skill sets. They're different skill sets. One looks better on a resume, and just practically speaking, the other's going to have better. I don't know if they're going to have better skills or not, but they are going to have just the same skills at the very least as these other top folks. Um, is that true for every single person that goes to these prestigious schools? Not by a long shot. There's exceptions to every rule. I'm just saying, if you really want to be a lawyer, if you really want to do this shit, you can. And no, you don't have to go to a top tier law school for it to be financially um, viable. How much money do you want to make in life, man? Seriously, like what do you want to be, or how much money do you want to make as a lawyer? What's the answer? 100,000 a year, $1 million a year, whatever your answer is, you can achieve that. You're going to have to probably start your own firm, and you know what? It sucks working for other folks, man. You know what happens to some of these people that go to these big law firms, from these big universities? They get these $200,000 a year salaries, and they are required to bill like 120 hours a month or something like that. They're working 18-hour days. They have like massage places and places to shower and gyms inside the firm because they don't want people going home. You're literally slave to them for a couple of years. Some people just burn out and quit. So there's a trade off. The answer to your question, to your advisor, is tell your advisor to get step out of academia for 5 minutes and just breathe in the air of other attorneys who are way more financially successful than some of these other graduates of these higher law schools, and then tell her to her or him to readjust their opinion. They're wrong. They're fundamentally wrong. What's up, Stephanie? We got a small group of you. I know it's late. I'm running on fumes myself. I've been talking all day long, but I was going to get this podcast in one way or the other. That was for this young man that asked me about law school. I have one more question in our mailbag of mailbags. The question is: does the $30,000 Delta Airlines compensation offer actually have no strings attached and does not affect rights? I did a bit this morning on a podcast that I did earlier, about the Delta flight where they try to offer everybody 30,000 a piece. And they sent me this. It says Delta flight 4819, which was arriving at Toronto Pearson International Airport from Minneapolis, burst into flames upon landing and flipped upside down on the runway at around 2:15 p.m. on Monday. Delta Airlines is offering passengers who were on the Toronto bound flight that crash landed and flipped upside down $30,000 apiece. It was not immediately clear how passengers can claim their money, but if all 76 passengers take Delta up on its offer, it will have to fork over nearly 2.3 million in total. Delta Care Team representatives are telling customers that the offer has no strings attached and does not affect rights. I find that hard to believe because I believe the language was all 76 passengers have to agree. When they say it doesn't affect rights, they're very careful to say that it doesn't waive any rights. Meaning they right now currently have all of their rights, but if they were to accept their 30,000 offer, I'd have to imagine there's a waiver of liability with respect to the airlines at the very least. They're going to agree to hold Delta Airlines accountable, or maybe Delta is admitting fault, and they are compensating $30,000 in damages, but this is going to be it. So there's a waiver of rights insofar as either there's a no liability waiver and we're just giving you this money, no strings attached, but for your waiving your rights to sue us later, or we're capping your damages at $30,000 and we're not going to talk about this ever again. There's no chance that they said, yeah, we will give, if all of you agree, we will give each of you $30,000 a piece. And without affecting any of your rights whatsoever, you can do whatever you want. Come back, sue us for more money, whatever. Bullshit. There's no chance. Whoever that Delta spokesperson is, bull effing shit, man. There's no chance. The question they're asking me is, does this actually have no effect if the passengers accept the $30,000 and decide to sue? Also, do you believe this is part of legal strategy? Do you think it's genuine upfront offer to give some relief to the victims before they seek legal action? 100% this is not a genuine upfront offer to give them. They could give a shit about the victims. What we've learned from history is that these plane crashes are built into their pre-planned business losses. In other words, they're going to have plane crashes because it's more cost effective to not do the required maintenance that would ultimately exacerbate having any accidents whatsoever. I'm not even sure if that's possible. So they do what they can. They skimp and they save, and they just say, well, every couple of years we're going to have a plane crash, and it's just cost of doing business. Now it's going to cost them $2.3 million, $30,000. If I was an attorney repping one of these people, where's my calculator, man? I need my calculator. We got 76 passengers. 76 passengers at $30,000. Oh, come on now. Times 30,000. Yeah, that's basically 2.3 million. I would be looking at getting those 76 passengers about let's just say 2.3 million each for starters. For starters. If I were to do that, 2.3 million, which is a more realistic settlement number, it's the difference between shelling out 2.3 million and $175 million. So was this a genuine act of them just, you know what? You guys had a shitty day. Here's some money. No strings attached. Don't worry about it. You want to sue us later? No, they're trying to save themselves hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the only reason they're doing that. It's a business decision. And yeah, the lawyers, this is legal strategy. They're trying to get them to agree to take a haircut on the damages that they're going to inevitably be on the hook for. You're talking about the family of the victims that died, the victims, the survivors, negligence. Oh, there's negligence afoot. I think that they probably know that there were shortages in their safety protocol, and they don't want that coming out in litigation because that's going to be really bad for business. And then punitives. It's not that much for a jury to award each one of these 76 passengers $10 million. Now we're up to $760 million. Yeah, I think they were trying to get ahead and get them to waive some of their rights by agreeing to not sue. I don't care what this spokesperson says. There's no chance that $30,000 was no strings attached. I don't trust that at all whatsoever. Not a batshit's chancing. A bat's a shit. What's the saying, man? Not a chance in hell. How about that? Not a snowball's chance in hell. I think that's what I was going for. Anyway, folks, that is our tilted mailbag for tonight. Um, oh, y'all have some comments. Oh, look at y'all. Hear Me Out says, thank you for the 5. Says, I missed the boat not studying law. I'm an accountant. No one goes online messing up debits and credits. That's why my channel blows. I don't know, man. I feel like people cheat on their taxes all the time and like in creative accounting ways. Uh, you know what? I bet you can make accounting fun. On the other hand, being a lawyer is cool and all, and yeah, but man, it is draining on your soul. If you really want to do this, fine. I mean, okay. I mean, it's a lot of dealing with a lot of people's like their worst moments in their lives, the worst time period in their lives, they're relying on you to save their future, to save their child, their father, their mother, their brother, their freedom, whatever. It's a lot. And if you're not careful, it will eat you from the inside out and you will become a soulless sociopathic lawyer offering the victims of this plane crash $30,000 to shut the fuck up and go away. That's one way to go about it. I don't know, man. Some days I'd rather be an accountant. Just so you know, the grass is not always greener. Um, with another five, she says, "People told me to become a lawyer. Was self-aware enough to know I would have been held in contempt 24/7 because I can't let go of something I've decided. Oh, you'll figure it out real quick. I mean, people go in there all the time with, oh, I want to be a lawyer because I'm so good at arguing. I'm just so vicious in the courtroom. And the funny thing about it is they beat you up for 3 years in law school. You're led to be made to feel like you're stupid. Your college professors are all smarter than you. You're competing against the smartest, brightest minds in the country. You're graded on a curve, and so what you would have normally done in undergrad to succeed is just not going to fly. It's like below average at these schools, and so you really have to elevate yourself and really question yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. Am I good enough to stand amongst this group and hold my own? Because if you're not, they'll kick your ass right out of law school. So they're threatening to kick you out for 3 years. You have to maintain your grade point average amongst your peers, and you're told that your law degree is going to be worthless unless you're in the top 20% or 10% or whatever it is. You might be told that your law degree is going to be total shit because you need to go to a top 14 school. All those things are in the back of your mind. And they say, good luck passing the bar because the California bar has like a 33% pass rate or some asinine number, meaning that 67% of the people taking that test are going to fail. And if you fail, I think it costs like $2,000 every time you want to take the bar. Um, they'll let you take it again. There's no guarantee you're going to pass. I've heard stories of people taking the bar like 4, 5, 10, 50 times. I kid you not, 50 times. And all of that takes a toll. So you get into it and then, yeah, you're a lawyer, but yet now you're practicing and everybody's more experienced to you and you still don't know anything. It takes a good 5 to 7 years of practice before you start to get your sea legs and get to start to stand on your own 2 feet, before you finally start to feel comfortable and you're not nervous anymore when you go into the courtroom to argue your points and all these things. It is a racket, man. You get through all of that, you'll be okay, but it is a lot of eating at your soul in between. So if you're thinking about doing it, hear me out. I just want you to know um, you might have made the right decision. There are days that I just, you know what? I should have just like started like a lawn care business or something. Maybe I should have just been a carpenter, build like a cigar humidors all day and sell them on Pinterest or something. It'd be easier. It'd be easier in my life. I wouldn't make as much money, but it'd be more peaceful for sure. Um, says, okay, yeah, but opposing counsel tells you in the hall that Star Wars episodes 8 and 9 were amazing movies. I can't wipe that from my brain. They are insane. If somebody tells you that Star Wars episodes 8 and 9 are amazing movies, I think that you have a full authority to tell them, give them a piece of your mind, and never trust their movie reviews ever again. I hear you, and good point on that one. Well, folks, I think that's all I got time for tonight. I'm wore out. It's time for me to hit the hay. But look, this content specifically is going to be members only from this point going forward. I'm still going to do my daily podcast. I'm never going to put my channel behind a paywall. This is just strictly for the legal mailbag, and really what I think is going to gravitate towards is more of your personal legal conundrums that you want me to get you out of, or at least point you in the right direction. Um, that's what I'm hoping it evolves into anyway. Amy Bonner says, "Hey, just realized you're alive." Yeah, I know it's late. I know it's late. Stephanie's in here. People used to tell me to be a nurse, but I didn't want to be responsible for someone else. I second guess too much. Someone else's life is too important. I'm not sure what kind of careers you wouldn't be responsible for the well-being of somebody else, but being a nurse is a big one. I would totally be the guy to fuck up the medication. Oh, what do you mean you gave him 1,000 milligrams? You're only supposed to be giving him 100. Well, shit, I thought there was an extra zero. Oh man, those kinds of accidents happen all the time. I don't think I have the chops to be a nurse. If you made it as a nurse, then more power to you. Um, all right, folks. A heat wave, or hear me out again. I am not a member. No clubs want me. The Tilted want the I can't even talk. The Tilted Lawyer Podcast wants you as a member. And even if you don't want to be like one of the paid members, you're always welcome to hang out for free. You don't got to pay to hang out with me. You can have a whiskey and a cigar anytime. on this show or otherwise in real life. If you happen to find me in a wayward bar somewhere in the slums of California, I don't know. Anyway, folks, it's way past my bedtime. I think I'm going to turn in. I love you all, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.